Hey friends, welcome back to Hot News. We got a lot popping off today to inform you of, so without that much intro, let's get into it after I let you know that today's episode of Hot News is brought to you by Ting. My friends, if you don't know about Ting, they're the mobile phone service that does things differently. They have no startup fees, no plans, and best of all, you only pay for what you use. They have nationwide LTE coverage in the US, and no matter what phone that you want to bring, whether it be the new iPhone XS or this old Motorola Razr you have lying in your storage closet, you can bring it to Ting by just bringing it over. It just works. They have reliable customer service. You can get answered within 2 rings when you phone them, as well as Discord support in case you wanted that and you don't want to phone people when it's your mobile phone service anyways. Neither here nor there. I actually was a user of Ting before I lived in South Africa. Right before we moved here, we decided that we were trying to save money on our phone bill, and since we were moving out of the country, we couldn't have a phone contract. Ting was perfect for all of that. The average phone bill for me and my wife together was about $45 based on the amount of data and everything that we use, especially since we were at home all the time. I was working from home for a online company. It just made sense because we didn't use a whole lot of data. We saved a whole butt ton of money. And you guys can save money by signing up at the link in the video description, ufd.ting.com. You can get $25 in credit towards your first bill or $25 off a purchase of a phone on the Ting store. So again, that's ufd.ting.com. Check that out in the link in the video description. I love Ting. I loved using them. It's sad that I don't have them here in South Africa, but you guys, if you're in the US, check them out. It's definitely worth it. And with that being said, let's actually get into the first piece of news. No, let's not, because I have to bring up what happened yesterday's story. So yesterday was about the Walmart PC and how they had pulled it from the site. Well, it appears that it was one of the hypotheses that I had put forward, which was that it was a listing error. They were out of stock, so they had to take it down. It appears that it is now back up. You can buy the DTW1 version 2 for about $1,200, and you get a 1070 with an 8700 and an unplugged graphics card. Maybe they did indeed take it down to resolve some quality control issues, or maybe, like I said, it was just a listing error. Either way, Walmart's PCs are back up. Hype train's now dead on that one. Let's move on into the news that we have today. I'll get to the titular news piece in a bit. As always, you can check the timestamps in the video description or in the pinned comment if you guys are at all interested with knowing where exactly all of the stories are. Anyways, let's get into the stories. Hot news. Let's get into the hot news. So first up, we have some more Resident Evil 2 footage. You can check it out. We'll play it a little bit, but we'll leave a link for that again and in the description for the link if you want to check out Resident Evil 2 footage. Then we have some information on Bloodborne 2. From Software's president made a comment regarding the beloved franchise's not franchiseness and how we're gonna get a sequel. Actually, what he specifically says, the Easter egg in itself is not indicative that we are going to launch Bloodborne 2. I'm not in a position to talk about a possible release of Bloodborne 2. However, we love Bloodborne. That's why the Easter egg has aroused so much curiosity. But I repeat, it's not a Bloodborne 2 notice. It's just something that we explored amongst ourselves because we love Bloodborne. So maybe Bloodborne 2, we'll see. Moving on. Then Battlefield 5 is getting an update called Overture. It's coming with a new stories called The Last Tiger and a whole bunch of added campaign stuff. It appears to be a free update, so you don't have to worry about that. But then there is also indication that Nvidia, along with their new game-ready drivers, in addition to this update, has said that we could see up to 50% improvement in ray tracing with your graphics cards if they happen to be RTX. We will be testing this and putting a video out on it as soon as the actual update goes live. They have delayed it by a day at least because it was supposed to go live yesterday, but it hasn't yet. I think it's kind of indefinite as to when it's going to come out, but it should be out shortly, and then we'll give you an update on how much ray tracing you can actually get in your video games, especially since this is the only ray tracing title that's out right now. And now let's get to the titular news piece, which is a video that was dropped by Adore TV yesterday, which also kind of coincides with a Reddit post that came out on what we're expecting to see for the Ryzen 3000 series, as well as what we could expect to see for Navi. And it's a whole butt ton of goodness if you like 5 gigahertz, if you like more than 8 cores, and if you like GTX 1080 pricing at $200. Something like that. Does anybody want that? And I'm gonna stop being condescending now because I absolutely want this. So Adore TV got some leaks, which, in case you don't know, Adore TV is also the one who dropped the RTX name on us. He was the one who got that leak correct, where everybody else was calling it the GTX 1180. He was the one who said, no, they're gonna call it RTX 2080, and we were all like, what? And he was totally right. So let's take Adore TV, obviously with a little grain of salt because none of this is confirmed, but at the same time, he does do his due diligence to make sure that these leaks are somewhat accurate when they come out. So let's go ahead and jump on into what we can expect. So for Ryzen 3, so this is the base level Ryzen that we are expecting to be launched at CES. Ryzen 3 3300 is going to have 6 cores and 12 threads. So they're shifting the Ryzen 5 down an entire SKU, and it's going to start at $100 with a 3.2 gigahertz base clock and a boost clock of 4 gigahertz, which is quite fast. 3300X, same cores and threads, but then a 4.3 gigahertz boost clock with a $130 price tag. It's not exactly the clock speed that we're looking for. We have to get to Ryzen 7 to see that. So let's look at Ryzen 5. We've got the Ryzen 5 3600, 8 core, 16 threads. So again, the Ryzen 7 shifting down a tier. We get a 3.6 gigahertz base clock and a 4.4 gigahertz boost clock on the 3600 for $180. That is a steal. Then the Ryzen 5 3600X, 8 core, 16 threads, 4 gigahertz base, 4.8 gigahertz boost at $230. That's a great, that's a bargain. That is, ooh, dang, 4.8 gigahertz boost and overclockable. Then Ryzen 7, this is where we start getting new chips that we haven't seen before. Ryzen 7 3700, 12 cores, 24 threads, 3.8 gigahertz base, 4.6 gigahertz boost, which is well above what Ryzen 2000 series can do right now. That's gonna go for $300, which is a great price. And then we have the Ryzen 7 3700X, which is again 12 cores, 24 threads, 4.2 gigahertz base, 5 gigahertz boost. This is exactly what the 9900K was hyped up to be, which was this 5 gigahertz boost monster, except for we're gonna get it on 12 cores with the Ryzen 3000 series. That's $330, a 105 watt TDP, which is 10 watts more than the 9900K. But as we all know, the 9900K doesn't run in a 95 watt TDP. Hopefully the 3700X will be more in line there. And then this is the big leak, is that he is anticipating that AMD is going to be launching the Ryzen 9 just like Intel did the i9. So with the Ryzen 9 3800X, we should see 16 cores, 32 threads, 3.9 gigahertz base, 4.7 gigahertz boost, gonna be launched at CES for $450. That is a Threadripper chip with lots of clock speed attached to it. And then Jim at Adore TV has also put forth a Ryzen 9 3850X or a Ryzen 9 3850A to stand for 50th anniversary, since it's gonna be AMD's 50th anniversary coming up in May, and this is expected to be launched at sometime near Computex. 16 cores, 32 threads, 4.3 gigahertz base, 5.1 gigahertz boost for $500, still coming in cheaper than the 9900K. You're getting all of the cores and threads that you could possibly need at clock speeds that are insane. This is going to be a gorgeous chip if it is indeed true. The reason why we even think that this is a possibility, it's because AMD is shifting from the 12 nanometer process on the current Ryzen 2000 chips to 7 nanometers, which is going to give us better performance and better efficiency. And it looks like these chips are going to be launching at CES, which means in a month's time, we could be looking at having a 16 core, 32 thread, 4.7 gigahertz boost clock for over $100 less than a 9900K, which is crazy. And then the Ryzen 5 3600X, which is the mid-tier of Ryzen, is going to go toe-to-toe with the 9900K, 4 gigahertz base, 4.8 gigahertz boost, but $230, and it's gonna have 8 cores and 16 threads like the 9900K does. That is insane. You're gonna be obsolete in just a month, my friend. But that's not all of the goodness that Jim dropped on us. We also got some information on Navi, which he is expecting. So it looks like they're gonna be going from the RX 500 series to the RX 3000 series. Kind of like what they did with the CPUs to get at Intel. They just kind of changed their names to match Intel. It looks like AMD is doing this towards Nvidia. Instead of Nvidia getting to have the 3060, the 3060 or whatever we're gonna call it, AMD is just gonna preemptively take it. So we've got the AMD Radeon RX 3060, which is gonna be based on the Navi 12 die. It's gonna come in at $130, 4 gigs of GDDR6, 75 watt TDP, which means no 6-pin, and it's gonna have the performance of an RX 580. So an RX 580 that does not need a power connector at $130, that is better than any mining special you're gonna get right now. That is great. He's also expecting these to come out sometime in January, possibly a little later. Then we also have the RX 3070, which is gonna come in at $200, 8 gigabytes of GDDR6, 120 watt TDP, and a Vega 56 level performance. So the same price as what you're paying for an RX 580 right now, you're gonna get a Vega 56 in just a few months. And then the RX 3080, which is gonna be based on the Navi 10 die, $250, 8 gigs of GDDR6, 150 watt TDP. It's going to be a Vega 64 plus 15%, which means it's going to beat any 1080 out there. So 1080 level performance for $250. This coincides with all of the leaks that we've been hearing for the past several months. This will be a great GPU. Nvidia might have the top tier locked down, 2080, 2080 Ti, 2070, sure. Nvidia can take the $500 and up price. $250 and below, it looks like AMD is going to reign firm. And as Jim mentioned in his video, the fact that the RX 3060 isn't going to have a power connector because it's only a 75 watt TDP, that's going to be great for system integrators. And we're going to see a lot more AMD cards possibly on the open market. Competition is back. Hopefully Nvidia also releases their mid-tier cards sometime soon as well so that we can have a battle in the mid-range. I don't necessarily want AMD to reign supreme here, but I'm excited. This is a huge leak from Adore TV. I'll encourage you guys to check out the full video. I'll leave a link for that in the video description. Check as well as the top right-hand corner, click that card. Check it out, get the full information. He breaks it down a lot more than I am here. I'm just giving you the overlay. Ryzen 3000, gonna be super powerful. Looks like Navi is also going to be a great mid-tier level setup, and I'm excited for this entire endeavor, and hopefully this will allow Intel to get off their butts and give us better competition, and will allow Nvidia to just be like, hey, everybody's buying this $250 card. Maybe we should sell a $250 card. That's what I'm looking for here. Anyways, let's move on into the rest of hot news. Speaking of cool things by Nvidia, they've actually constructed an entire CGI world, not from a graphics rendering, but from an AI process where they gathered data, used tensor cores, and then constructed this false reality where you can drive around in a simulation. It's not based on any graphics engine, it's based off an AI engine, which is insanely cool. They also showed off the fact that they got one of the developers to perform Gangnam Style dance, even though he doesn't do it. So they took data of somebody else doing the dance, and then they used all of their AI and made him do it. And this has a lot of serious implications in the future as far as like the believability of videos going forward. As it stands, these are clearly fake. You can totally tell the difference between this and a real video. Maybe your great Aunt Sally can't, but for most of us tech heads, this is definitely something that is easily discernible, but we're gonna come to a point where, like, just like Photoshop, it's gonna be close to the real thing, and it's gonna create a whole lot of tension in the future, I'm sure. But we're not there yet, so let's enjoy it for what it is. Then, if you want to know if Pikachu is real, it is. There's a golden possum out there. Apparently, golden possums are a bad thing for evolutionary reasons because they make them very visible and they typically die very quickly and do not reproduce. So the fact that we found one is quite rare because, you know, they get eaten. So that's cool. Pikachu is not viable in real life. Who would have thunk? Then there's some news that Microsoft might be replacing their Edge browser, or at least the source of the Edge browser, with one from Chromium, because people hate Edge and they realize people like Google Chrome, so just swapping it out and making it based on Chrome might allow people to start using Microsoft Edge. Or maybe, you know, Microsoft, you should just learn that people don't like the incessant nagging that you do about your browser, and I would still rather switch to another browser because you act so pathetically longing when I try to switch to another default one. Stop it. Then, if any of you have a mining graphics card out there that doesn't have the display outs, like you actually bought a P106 or something like that, there is a hack floating around on the internet that allows you to use it like a laptop, which sends the Nvidia card's display signal through the Intel chipset and then comes out on the VGA or DVI or HDMI port of your motherboard. You do lose about 15% performance compared to a normal graphics card, but in case you thought they were useless for gaming, not entirely true, especially if you have an Intel chipset that actually supports video out. Kind of nice. Then, in a fun little bit of news, we just need to call MKBHD the iPhone police of Twitter, because every single Android user that's trying to promote themselves appears to always be using Twitter from an iPhone, and he likes to call that out, and it's hilarious. This time from Samsung Mobile NG, they were promoting their Note 9, Twitter from iPhone, and their response was to delete their account. Fantastic. And then, speaking of Samsung, they actually made their first successful video call over 5G using something that looked like an S9 but apparently supports the 5G band. And they said that the quality of the video call was over what you would expect on normal LTE, although there were fidelity issues, which they expect to be resolved once they add more 5G towers. But 5G is coming in hot and heavy. it's going to be kind of useless if we don't get different setup for how we allocate data, because the issue with data on mobile networks isn't the amount of data you use. It never is. It's the amount of bandwidth you use. If you download a bajillion gigabytes when nobody's using the network, it doesn't affect anybody. But if you do it during peak traffic hours and you're hogging half of the bandwidth, then that's a problem. But the amount of data has never been a problem, so I don't understand why we're getting charged for the amount of data and not necessarily for the amount of bandwidth that we use. It's because we got greedy mobile carriers. That's basically it, but not Ting. Hey, Ting's not greedy because you pay for what you use, so check them out, ufd.ting.com. Anyways, I'm gonna wrap it up there. Thank you guys so much for watching this episode of Hot News. Let me know what you think of the Ryzen 3000 series, the Navi 12, anything and everything else we talked about down in the comments down below. Keen to hear from you. Hit the like button if you enjoyed this video. Get subscribed to stay up to date on all our tech-related content. And as I mentioned, this video is brought to you by Ting, so check out ufd.ting.com to get $25 in credit towards your first bill or $25 towards a phone on the Ting shop. Check it out. They're amazing. I love them. I'm glad they're a sponsor. Anyways, I'm Brett with the UFD Tech Channel. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see your smiling faces again in the next video. Love you too.